stream. We just started it a little late because we were dealing with some audio issues, so I wanted to make sure that we were on the air on the radio side before I punched the button on the video stream, just in case for some reason we weren't doing a show tonight. You never know. Charles Carter is our producer engineer working on the show tonight in Houston. He will be with us throughout the evening intermittently. And I'm just looking. Oh, the Yankees. Wow, what a rough night for the Yankees. Opener of a 3-game set in Boston tonight. Yankees lose to the Boston Red Sox, the last place Boston Red Sox, 15-5. It's a rough night. It's a rough night for my boys.
Damn you!
Yeah. Domingo Germán. Not the night that he was probably expecting. On the Ja Morant thing, Nike has already announced they're standing by him. The NBA has handed down its suspension. The Players Association isn't happy. I think the only person that's probably happy in all of this today, and this is going to sound crazy when I say this, you know who it was? Ja Morant. That dude's laughing because he could have easily gotten as bad as a half a season. 20 was probably the minimum that I think everybody agreed the league would go. And instead, he gets 25 games. So basically, by the time Ja Morant gets ready to start his season for Memphis, most people will be tuning in to watch basketball because nobody cares until Christmas anyway. So he misses the first 2 months of the season when nobody's watching anyway. I mean, think about what Adam Silver did today. And I was texting with somebody who covers the NBA today, and I don't want to say who it was in case they didn't want me to say. But at the end of the day, think about everything that's transpired here with Ja Morant. He's got to be the only person that's happy in all of this. And it feels like, to me, the league wanted to have it both ways. They wanted to try and send a message to Ja Morant that this type of behavior is not going to be tolerated, while at the same time protecting their product and protecting one of their most valuable assets in the league, which is Ja Morant. And by trying to have it both ways, I think they failed miserably in terms of sending the right message. Knowing what we know, seeing what we see when it comes to guns in the United States and gun violence in the United States, it feels like the NBA badly missed the mark. I thought it had to be at least 30 to 35 games to send a message. I don't think this changes anything with Ja Morant at this point. He got 8 games, and within a couple of months, he was flashing guns around on IG Live, doing the same thing basically that got him suspended the first time. Now he gets 25 games, and he essentially knows that the league will only go so far because they're afraid of the Players Association and they're afraid to hurt their on-air product. We'll come back and talk about this some more on the Cash-In. Stay with us. So, dude, can you hear me? I hear you. Oy vey. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I was sitting right here. Are you fucking kidding me? Somebody moved it? It's just it's so ridiculous. The shit that happens. Rolling along on this Friday edition of the show. Of course, the U.S. Open is the top. I'm just seriously irritated. Rolling along on this Friday edition of the show. Of course, the U.S. Open is the top story of the day, along with the John Morant news, which we'll obviously get into as well here in the 2 for 1. Let's bring in Judd Spicer, award-winning freelance writer. He does a great job on all things golf. Get some thoughts with him on this U.S. Open, which continues to roll on at L.A. Country Club. Judd, of course, a member of the Golf Writers Association of America. He's also got a couple of podcasts that we'll let him plug in the next. All right, our text question of the night. 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549 from anywhere in America, anywhere at all. John Morant. Did the NBA get it right? Was it too light? Was it too much? Those are your three choices. Text me your name, where you're listening to us, and your choice for tonight's text question of the night. The NBA got it wrong. It's just, as far as I'm concerned, they got it wrong. But the ultimate proof, I mean, look, punishment is supposed to act as a deterrent. That's how it works in, really any walk of life. We punish people as a deterrent, both to other people who might be thinking of doing something similarly stupid or egregious. Why do we, to go to the extreme, why do we have the death penalty? Well, to discourage people from murdering other people. Why do we have, even something as simple as traffic tickets or traffic to encourage people? Why did we start putting seatbelt laws in place and start ticketing people for seatbelts? Because we wanted people to wear seatbelts. And it works. A lot of people wear their seatbelts. Charles, you wear a seatbelt, right? See, Charles wears a seatbelt. Yeah. And hopefully you didn't have like an accident which taught you a lesson or something, did you? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I've always worn a seatbelt. So to me, punishment acts as a deterrent. But when you punish somebody and essentially they turn around and do the same exact thing just a couple of months later, it tells you punishment that you handed out did not work. Now, some could argue that he got, 200% more punishment than his previous punishment. He went from 8 to 25 games. So some could argue, in essence, that John Morant, what the NBA did winds up working. Now, the ultimate test of this will be, does John Morant do it again? And I'm not even going to read his statement on this show tonight because it's absolutely meaningless when you consider he went on TV. He went on TV last time, sat there and did the interview and tried to sound contrite and sincere in his apologies for wrongdoing. I mean, he gave you everything you wanted to hear if you were Adam Silver. And then he went out 2 months later and basically did the same damn thing that got him suspended to begin with. So I'm not interested in his words. At this point, it's about the young man's actions rather than his words. And that's going to be the ultimate arbiter of whether or not this punishment was severe enough. Because if he goes and does it again, I mean, think about this. It's not just the gun stuff. It's all the other things that have been widely reported about Ja Morant. Whether true, untrue, partially true. It's not just the gun incident that the commissioner is looking at when he's thinking about Ja Morant. It's the totality of events surrounding this guy. And if you are the commissioner at this point, you have got to send a message. Did you do that with 25 games? I don't think you did. And if you look at the response on social media, which you always have to be careful to do, and you have to take with a grain of salt, because a lot of people out there just like to be rabble-rousers. And you like that one, Charles? Rabble-rousers. Hey, kid. Hey, Sonny, don't be a rabble-rouser, hey? Hey, yeah. Willie Ames, man. I'm friends with Willie Ames on Twitter. I do not have a story. I'm friends with him on Twitter. Because one time Scott Baio and I got into it on Twitter and Willie Ames jumped in. And we've been friends ever since. Yeah, I got into it with Chachi on Twitter once. It's true. It happened. I've gotten into it with a few different people over the years. Pat McAfee and I have gotten into it. Dan Lebitard and his people. Yeah. Alter egos. With one of his burner accounts. You got into it with Devin Currant. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. But to me, I said this the first time. I said this the first time that Ja got in trouble. And I'll repeat the same thing because I think nothing has changed my mind from where I was originally. And that is this. We know how this story ends. We've seen enough examples throughout the history of sports of guys who behave this way, flaunt authority this way. And a lot of times they're even older than Ja Morant is. You'd like to think he's still young enough that he can learn from his mistakes. But to make the same mistake just 2 months later, and it's not even a mistake. You know what? I'm using the wrong word. And I should do better than that as somebody who talks for a living. It's not a mistake. Leaving the iron on is a mistake. Burning your toast is a mistake. Going on Instagram Live and waving a gun around in the 2 ways we've seen him do it already. Which means, guess what? These are not the only times he's ever been waving guns around. Because I guarantee you cannot tell me that the only times that Ja Morant's been waving guns around are the 2 times he's been on IG Live. So this is clearly a way of life for him. We have a pattern of behavior here that is established. I wonder what his conversations with the commissioner have been like in the midst of all this. Because the commissioner's got to be pissed off at this point. He's got to be absolutely beside himself. The statement from the commissioner today: Ja Morant's decision to once again wield a firearm on social media is alarming and disconcerting given his similar conduct in March, for which he was already suspended 8 games. The potential for other young people to emulate Ja's conduct is particularly concerning. Under these circumstances, we believe a suspension of 25 games is appropriate and makes clear that engaging in reckless and irresponsible behavior with guns will not be tolerated. The suspension will come with conditions for his return. For Ja, basketball needs to take a back seat at this time, Silver said. Prior to his return to play, he will be required to formulate and fulfill a program with the league that directly addresses the circumstances that led him to repeat this destructive behavior. Morant will be ineligible to participate in any public league or team activities, including preseason games, which is also interesting. And again, this suspension is going to cost him about $7.5 million, $300,000 per game. But he's going to make $33.5 million this year. So instead he's going to make what? 26, 25? Wow, who friggity who? I mean, $7.5 million, and the Grizzlies are on the hook for a while with this, Charles. So we're not talking about, yes, it's a huge amount of money. And you could talk about the, $40 million he probably lost from missing out on All NBA last year. He stood to make, I believe it was $40 million, because the contract would have been different if he was All NBA. So he loses that. So he's basically lost a total of $50 million. All from waving a gun around on Instagram twice. Now, if that doesn't kick in, if none of it, let's just say he likes to flaunt authority. That he doesn't like authority. Now, I'm going to wave my gun around. It's not illegal. It might be dumb, but it ain't illegal. There's a lot of things that are dumb but aren't illegal. But the league has its standards, and they're not going to stand for certain stuff. Okay, let's just say he's of that mindset. If $50 million isn't enough to scare somebody straight, then there's a whole nother level of problem. I mean, if I had a job and I got fined like $50, I'd be back. $50 million. Even in the overall scheme of how much he makes, that's a lot of cash. A lot of cash. But I doubt that he's going to, learn anything from this. I really do. All right. I want to come back and talk about this some more. We'll hold Judd Spicer off one extra segment. We'll get to him coming up in 20 minutes. America Ninja Warrior. Yeah, we're not watching that tonight. Wow. They went off the air. Guess so. Nope, I got a haircut. Yep, got a haircut. I got my eyebrows done. Eyebrows are looking all fancy. Painful as fuck was it. I got some killer zit on my forehead too, which is great. I get threading done, man. That's my thing. Oh, man. The first time I ever had it done, there's a YouTube video out there somewhere of me getting my eyebrows threaded, and it was intense. And the lady threading them is just laughing while I'm just in agony. Nope. It is consistent pain. Oh, I'm dying to get a tattoo. I'm dying to get my first, and I already know what it is. It's just I've just been procrastinating on doing it. No, I do. It's behind me on the screen, actually, on the box. Yeah, it's gonna be on my wrist. But do you know what the tattoo is? Yeah. See, at some point it goes on behind me on the screen. That's the hint. You're going to have to wait till it comes back on the screen. There it is. It's coming now. Pac-Man being chased by the four ghosts. Yes. No. The game's not about Pac-Man. The game's about the ghosts. People miss out on that fact. Yeah, people don't know this, Charles Carter, but Pac-Man is not about Pac-Man. Pac-Man's actually about the four ghosts. It is the endless. The tattoo that I'm going to get on my wrist above my watch line, because I like to wear watches, so I don't want to cover up the tattoo. So it'll go just a little north of the watch line. The tattoo I'm going to get is the four ghosts chasing Pac-Man. And when I told you that, you said, well, why isn't it Pac-Man chasing the four ghosts? Because the game isn't actually about Pac-Man. The game is named Pac-Man, but it's not about Pac-Man. It's about the four ghosts' endless pursuit of Pac-Man, which is the story of life. Pac-Man has no ending. Pac-Man has no ending. The game goes forever. There is no end to Pac-Man. You could just keep playing and it'll just keep going. So that is a metaphor for life, that we're always just chasing. Our entire life is spent chasing. Our entire life is spent chasing something. And in the case of the four ghosts, their pursuit is of Pac-Man. There's very little of that game where it's Pac-Man pursuing the ghosts. It's only when you chomp on the power pellet that you can go after the ghosts. Other than that, it's the ghosts pursuing Pac-Man. So there you go. If you don't know, now you know. But just saying. Why you got something to add at it? You just know there's no muzzle on you on this show. Stretch. Yeah, stretch. Yeah. It's all right though. Listen. You swung. You miss 100% of the swings you don't take. Right. So I'm all about that. Hey, they finally finished it. Could you believe it is 10:32 p.m. Eastern on the East Coast? That's redundant. It's 10:32 p.m. Eastern, and they are literally just finishing up on the 18th hole at the U.S. Open. Whew. I mean, it's one thing to have golf in prime time, but when you're in the 10:30 p.m. Eastern hour, I mean, that's late. Now, that won't be the case, obviously, after they make the cuts. And I believe the cut line finished at +2. Let me see. Yep. The cut is +2. So we are done with the first 2 rounds of the... No, we're still not done? There's still 2 people on the... Oh, my God. Get them off the course already. Good golly, Miss Molly. That is brutal. How is this not over yet? Whew. I wonder if LA Country Club is going to host a U.S. Open again. Can I tell you something interesting about the U.S. Open? So the U.S. Open is being played at LA Country Club. So I went and did a little research. Well, I shouldn't say I did research. I went and did some perusing of LinkedIn. And one of my people that I follow is a guy. Well, it's a guy named this guy, Joe Pompliano. He's a really good follow on LinkedIn. And he has a like one of these Substack things. One of these Substack pages where he talks about sports business. And would you know, Los Angeles Country Club is one of the world's most exclusive golf clubs. Like we all think of Augusta National and all this. I think LA Country Club might actually be even more exclusive than Augusta National. You know how much it is just the initiation fee? I'm not talking like yearly dues or anything like that. Just to be initiated at Los Angeles Country Club. Do you know how much it is? $250,000. It's a lot of cabbage. Like Marshawn Lynch says, save your chicken. $250,000 to be a member at Los Angeles Country Club. Or like an American oligarch. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I'll do you better. No celebrities are allowed at Los Angeles Country Club. How about them apples? It is not a celebrity-friendly country club. You cannot be a celebrity. Now, here's the question. How do you dictate who's a celebrity? What level of fame must you have to be considered a celebrity? Now, but okay, so would I be allowed as a member? If I plunk down $250,000, and say, LA Country Club, I want to be a member, and they go research me and they find out I've been on TV, I've been a TV contributor on various cable news networks, hosted, nationally syndicated talk shows. Does that make me too much of a celebrity for LA Country Club? I don't know. I almost wish I had $250,000 just so I could find out. I'll do you better than this. Ready? They do not allow celebrities to join, as I said. Every new member of this country club is handed a 1,000-page rule book. 1,000 pages of rules. Physical copy. Among those rules, no shorts allowed. Not only no shorts allowed, I wouldn't be able to get into the club for this reason. Tailored pants only. I don't have tailored pants. Don't have one. I don't have a single pair of tailored pants. I get them off the rack. Baby. I am blue collar through and through. Why would you have tailored pants? Or are you of a certain size that you can only do tailored pants? Like there isn't anything off the rack that fits you. Okay. All right. Hey, listen. Never know. Somebody's got to be getting it because I'm not. Sports coats in the clubhouse after 6 p.m. You have to be wearing a sports coat in the clubhouse if you're in there after 6 p.m. Now, I can do that. I got tons of sports coats. No changing your shoes in the parking lot. Now, anybody who plays golf knows that's just something you do. You take your shoes off at the car in the parking lot. Go back into your flip-flops or your other shoes. Nope, not at LA Country Club. No changing shoes in the parking lot allowed. No headphones, earbuds, or athletic clothes are allowed at LA Country Club. I got to be honest, it feels like the no fun club to me. I don't think I'd want to be a member of a place that says no headphones, earbuds, or athletic clothes. That's not, because let's just be honest, it's not my people. That is not my people. 2 hours. Oh no, we go there frequently. We go at least once a month to LA. It's a 2-hour drive. It should be about an hour and a half, but there's always traffic inevitably. Stuart Sink finishing up his round. They're still playing golf there, by the way. Oh, my buddy Damon Hack is on golf. Is on NBC right now. Last one, ready? This is great. Phone calls must be made from a parked car or a phone booth. Right? Well, I would think if you're a worker there, you would have to be exempt from some of that stuff. You got to be able to have a phone on the course or something. If you're working, maybe walkie-talkie. I don't know. I couldn't be anywhere where I couldn't have a phone. Call that shame on me, addiction to my phone, all that stuff. And fine, I'm guilty. Fine, hang me. Go for it. I'm 100% guilty. I cannot be without my phone. Like if I accidentally leave the house and go to a restaurant without my phone, it is the most terrifying hour to 90 minutes of my life to sit there without a phone in my hand. Like the world could be crashing around me and I wouldn't even know it. We'll talk about the golf at the LA Country Club at the U.S. Open. Judd Spicer joins us on the other side. He's our correspondent out at the Open. That's next on the Cash In. I think so, but let me make sure. Rolling along on this Friday edition of the show. Of course, the U.S. Open is the top story of the day, along with the John Morant news, which we'll obviously get into as well here in the 2 for 1. Let's bring in Judd Spicer, award-winning freelance writer. He does a great job on all things golf. Get some thoughts with him on this U.S. Open, which continues to roll on at LA Country Club. Judd, of course, member of the Golf Writers Association of America. He's also got a couple of podcasts that we'll let him plug in the next hour when he's with us. We're going to do them this hour, and then we'll
expected over the course of the week.
All right. I still can't believe they are out there playing golf. This guy's going to miss the cut by one shot. Oh, that sucks. Stewart Sink's going to miss the cut by 3 shots. Boy, they are like committed to showing every golfer finish. It doesn't matter how bad they are. They're like, everybody gets to finish. Yeah. Yeah, I guess not. It's like participation trophies. Rolling along on this Friday edition of the show. Of course, the U.S. Open is the
Same time, we're going to see the course in cases.
rolling along on this Friday. Yeah, goes. Yeah, you can go. You can go normal. Rolling along on this Friday edition. No. I was just being indecisive. What song? Rolling along on this Friday edition of the show. Of course, the U.S. Open is the top story of the day, along with the John Morant news, which we'll obviously get into as well here in the 2 for 1. Let's bring in Judd Spicer, award-winning freelance writer. He does a great job on all things golf. Get some thoughts with him on this U.S. Open, which continues to roll on at L.A. Country Club. Judd, of course, a member of the Golf Writers Association of America. He's also got a couple of podcasts that we'll let him plug in the next hour when he's with us. We're going to do them this hour, and then we'll do them in the second hour of the show. All right, Judd, talk about another day where scoring is low at this U.S. Open. We thought it might get a little tougher. The sun's come out this afternoon. Maybe it starts to kind of dry out the course a little bit. The winds have picked up a bit. Give us a sense of what you're seeing having walked the course today.
Well, meteorologically, Jason, you did touch upon a few of the deserved headlines. And about 1 o'clock this afternoon, just as most of the second wave of play was getting underway, saw my shadow at LACC for the first time, as did many players. With that sun coming out, we did see a bit of a rise in the afternoon winds that were suspected over the course of the week into the weekend, none of which we saw yesterday, of course, which led to so much low scoring, to record-setting and record-tying scoring. And over the course of this afternoon, we started to see it dry out a little bit. And these are some of the things that we expected, some of the things that LACC definitely needed to defend itself against the type of scoring that we saw in round one.
Ricky Fowler, 65-67 through his first 2 rounds of this tournament. Look, there were the signs he was starting to put it together here over the last couple of weeks, particularly last week in Toronto. He's put himself in position to be right there this weekend. Talk a little bit about what we've seen from Rory here over the first 2 days.
Yeah, and just to correct, because you said Ricky Fowler, which
I'm sorry, I meant Rory. I'm sorry, I meant Rory McIlroy. Sorry about that.
A lot of R's and a lot of Rickies and a lot of Rorys. There's a lot of names to keep track of, man. Rory McIlroy, another solid round today. Followed up yesterday, as you said, with a 67 today. Has him, as I'm looking at this leaderboard right now, at a cumulative 132 over the 2 days at 5 under, finding himself right in the mix. And it's been a long time. Since 2014, unbelievably, since Rory McIlroy has held a major title. Of course, he just needs the Masters for the career Grand Slam. But yeah, it's been way too long. No surprise. He's been trending well for basically better part of 2 years now. We have seen a little bit of funky wedge play from Rory McIlroy, but from what I saw of him today, looked like he had it pretty tight. No surprise that he's in the mix going into the weekend.
No, and I mean, this is a who's who leaderboard. I mean, Fowler at the top, Wyndham Clark notwithstanding, and I know he won for the first time a few weeks back. Shoffley is obviously playing really well. Dustin Johnson right there. You got a nice mix of some of the live guys and some of the mainstay PGA Tour guys. I mean, this thing is really setting up for a special weekend.
Absolutely. I don't often, by the way, use the words live and nice in the same sentence like you just did, although we don't know if live will soon exist by the time this show airs. You're absolutely right. And speaking with some friends and contacts with the USGA this morning, the SoCal leaderboard was obviously very popular, ending round one, heading into round two with Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele atop. But I think that there's a general consensus here, and you and I talked about this yesterday, Jason, that a Ricky Fowler win, he got out of the gates very, very strong in round three, birdieing his first 3 holes, ultimately birdied 4 of his first 6, getting his second round underway. That would be a particular storybook for a SoCal guy and a guy that we always thought would win at least one, if not multiple majors.
Well, Judd, is there any doubt that would be the most popular win amongst all the players out there? Would be a Ricky Fowler win?
I don't think no. To answer your question succinctly, no. There would be no other storyline that could better that.
Yeah, I would agree. Judd Spicer joining us here on the show. Palm Springs-based award-winning freelance writer and broadcaster, a podcaster, member of the Golf Writers Association of America, out there at LA Country Club for us here yesterday and today as well. Sam Bennett was an amateur who captured the minds of a lot of people at the Masters. And now, since he has gone pro and has already started to show some real signs of being able to compete at the highest level, Bennett in at 5 under after 68 today through his first 2 rounds. Man, he just doesn't play like somebody who just came out of college and is playing on the PGA Tour. He doesn't hold up like that.
No, and when we saw him compete toward I think it was the final group, as you referenced, of the Masters, looked very cool after a jittery couple holes. Exact same thing over the course of these first 2 rounds. Does not look like a guy that just came out of amateur golf. And he was interviewed to that effect. He spoke toward it. I thought, pretty interestingly, the fact that he just seemed to intimate that he doesn't get nervous. And he certainly conducts himself. Some of these young guys, man, I don't know, Jason, whether it's growing up with just the social media era, the Generation Xers, when they're so used to watching these professionals, how these professionals conduct themselves, the way that these professionals protect themselves into how they look and what they say, or oftentimes, probably more often than not, what they don't say. A lot of these young guys come out so mature right away, and it doesn't take a long time for them to get settled. Not like we were used to historically. Sam Bennett is definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, he certainly is. Talking with Judd Spicer out at the LA Country Club site of this year's U.S. Open as we run through a bit of the leaderboard. Is there a sense for how this course changes now as the sun comes out? The weather improves here over the next couple of days. It's going to get a little warmer. Is there any sense? Does anybody know how it's going to change this course over the next 2 days? Is it just faster, firmer? The rough's going to grow a couple inches. I mean, does anybody have a sense for what this thing looks like by the time we get to Sunday? Since this is going to be our last day on the air together, I figure project a little bit as to what we're going to see on the weekend.
Well, to balance out some of those deep red numbers that we have discussed and that most media has discussed as the headline, there is actually a little mix and match to go with this. I mean, 45 players as we're getting deeper into the afternoon wave play at 5 over or worse. So you've got basically nearly a third of the field that is not playing LACC particularly well, and the course is showing its teeth. The cut line started today at even, Jason, that has already risen as we get deeper into the afternoon wave into +2, trending a little bit closer to +3. So statistically, we show LACC showing those teeth. And outside the cut line, we'll see how some of these players are completed. Some of them are just wrapping things up here in round 2 and see if they can make it to the weekend. But just a few names.
Jordan Spieth is a guy who's just outside the cut line right now at +3. Phil Mickelson there as well.
A couple other big names we can add to that list. Sanjay M. Colin Morikawa, he is going to be fighting to make the cut. Nick Taylor, we saw win in Canada in dramatic fashion last week. Doesn't look like he's going to play the weekend. Justin Rose, a former Open winner, he's been in good form of late. Jason Day, he's had a great season basically. By and large, has had a few funky tournaments actually, but pound for pound, he's had a great season, great comeback season. Justin Thomas getting totally clobbered by LACC. So for all these low numbers at the same time, we are starting to see a little bit of that bulk kick in to what this course can do. Something else to that effect, just to kind of give you a double answer to your question. It was intimated to me that there are concerns, or at least were concerns, about pace of play. They don't want these guys pushing up against Sunset Jason, playing 5-hour, 45-minute rounds that we've become a little bit accustomed to in major championship golf. Not like you and I, when we knock it around the desert, zip around in 3.5 hours. These guys are out there for a long time. So by virtue of those pace of play concerns, maybe a little bit easier set up intentionally yesterday. A few tee boxes pushed forward, of course, playing a little bit shorter. As you and I talked about yesterday, a few of the pin placements that could be a little crazy were actually a little bit more benign. See a little bit more of that today as well. But come the weekend, when we don't have those time constraints and time concerns, it's going to be, as you referenced yesterday, that prime time SoCal major. See those tee boxes push back a little bit. We're going to see the course get a little more slick. We're going to see those pins get a little more tough and funky. And that's when I think LACC is really going to start showing its fangs.
Judd Spicer does a great job out here in Palm Springs, based out here, award-winning freelance writer, broadcaster. He's got a podcast as well. We'll talk about that next hour. Member of the Golf Writers Association of America. We'll see you back here next hour. Thanks, Judd.
Thanks, Jason.
Another hour of the show starts right now on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Flanked by producer engineer the Charles Carter. I am Jason Page. Oh, Brooks Koepka. Brooks. Yeah. Apparently, Brooks Koepka is not a huge fan of LA Country Club. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that, I don't know, he kind of sucked this week. I can't imagine it has anything to do with anything other than the fact that he sucked. He sucked. No, he sucked. That's it. I mean, come on. I mean, it just... You wonder, I mean, look, Brooks Koepka wants to be the villain. I mean, he's made it very clear that he wants the heel role in golf. It's part of the reason he was so quick to join LIV. Because all he really cares about is the majors. He knows he's not going to be banned from playing the majors. So to him, whether or not LIV Golf was absorbed by the PGA Tour merge, he was one of those people, I can guarantee it. He was one of those people that didn't care because all he wants to play is the majors and a couple of other warm-up events to have him ready for the majors. He didn't care otherwise. Brooks Koepka through 2 days, 71, 69, even par, 10 shots off the pace. You wonder why Brooks Koepka doesn't like the course? You wonder why he doesn't like LA Country Club? Because he sucked. That's it. If Brooks Koepka was 6 under, if Brooks Koepka was 7 under, Brooks Koepka wouldn't say the course sucks. No, he's not a fan. All day. I'm not a huge fan of this place, said Koepka. I'm not a huge fan of blind tee shots. And then I think there's just some spots that no matter what you hit, the ball just ends up in the same spot. I think it would be more fun to play on just like a regular round than it would be a U.S. Open. I mean, there's what? 2 8s yesterday? That doesn't happen. It doesn't. I won majors on golf courses that I haven't really liked too much, Koepka said. But yeah, this one, I don't know. It's not my favorite. Obviously, I got to play 2 good rounds, so that's something I have to do. But definitely would like to be further up from where I'm at. But it all depends what happens today, whether the wind picks up. Who knows what those guys are going to do. Well, they got to 10 under, Brooks. He hit 10 of 18 greens on Friday. 10 of 18 greens. That's not major winning golf, Brooks. And this is a guy who came into the week as supremely confident as one could possibly be. And the proof was in the pudding. He was asked about the LIV PGA merger and basically said, doesn't matter to me. I block it all out, which is why I'm so great in the majors. That is almost word for word what the guy said. And instead, Brooks Koepka finds himself 10 shots off the pace. He'll be playing early tomorrow if you want to go and watch him. You'll be able to catch him bright and early tomorrow out at LA Country Club. The good news is he'll beat the traffic. Because he'll be long gone by the time anybody of import starts to play. No, he's the jerk. The dude is. He is. He wants to be hated. So if that's what he wants, that's what I will give him. I will give him all the hatred I can possibly muster up in the course of a couple of minutes. Brooks Koepka's critical of the U.S. Open host. He gave more how about this? He gave more criticism of the LA Country Club than he did the Saudis who helped to murder a bunch of Americans on 9/11. How about that? How's that for a zinger, huh? Gave more criticism to the LA Country Club than he did the Saudis who murdered in cold blood a U.S. journalist with the Washington Post. How about that, Brooks? You gave more criticism to this golf course than you did the Saudis who sign your blood money checks. How about that? How you like them apples, Brooks? Trash. The dude is, you know what? It just goes to show you. You be one of the greatest golfers in the world, and I will not deny he is one of the best golfers in the world. And you can still be trash at the same time. Just flat out trash. God. Brooks Koepka. The phone number in this hour of the show, 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You want to text the show? Go ahead and do it. 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549. Come and get me, Brooks. Come and get me. I don't care. There's another big story that broke in the NBA today, and it was overshadowed. The happiest person in the world that Ja Morant's suspension came down today was probably Michael Jordan, because he didn't have to hear about how miserable his 13 years as owner of the of the Charlotte Hornets, Bobcats. They've been both during, I think, his time there. How miserable his tenure was as an owner. For as great a players, I mean, look, and you obviously separate the two. And I know some people will say it takes some of the shine off of what he did as a player, his lack of success as an owner. I am not one of those people. I think they are two completely different things. It's the same as Derek Jeter. All but one vote separated, him from being a Hall of Famer with 100% of the vote. And at the end of the day, Derek Jeter was a terrible baseball owner. I mean, the Marlins were absolutely thrilled when he decided he was going to step away and not be a part of that organization anymore. Owning a team is tough. It's tough business, man. That's why, there's a lot of headaches that come with owning a professional sports franchise. I don't pretend to know all of them. I wouldn't want to know all of them. So he gave up his majority stake in the team, completes his sale of the Hornets. And he'll move on now and do whatever it is Michael Jordan likes to do besides own the Hornets, which is probably play golf and gamble. Maybe he'll patch things up with Charles Barkley. I think that's one of the sadder, sort of like under the radar NBA storylines, was that these two guys used to be best friends and now they don't talk to each other at all. And Charles has been very open about his relationship or lack thereof now with Michael Jordan. Michael just doesn't talk about him at all. And it kind of breaks your heart because these two were very close at one time. And now the next time they'll probably see each other is at, or the next time they'll be anywhere near each other will be a memorial service or something like that. Which is kind of sad. It shouldn't, that shouldn't happen. Somebody's got to be the bigger person, bury the hatchet. But it doesn't sound like that's going to happen when it comes to these two guys. I was just saying this at the top of the hour. Just before we came back at the top of the hour, I was watching the U.S. Open, and there was this guy who literally missed the cut by one shot, and it was because he made a double bogey on the 18th hole today at the end of the second round. He was literally like the last golfer to finish. And if he had made this, I don't know, I'll call it a 12-foot putt. If he had made this 12-foot putt on the last hole, he would have been around for the weekend. And instead, he literally missed the cut by one shot. He shot a 76 today after shooting a 67 yesterday. And look, I know a lot of people are going to go crazy about the scoring and the fact that you have all these guys that are under par. It's not as many as you think it is when you consider all the players that missed the cut. This course got noticeably harder as the day went along, and it's going to get even harder again this weekend. It just is. This course is going to become more challenging as we go through the weekend. Hey, you know who made the cut, by the way? I want to give kudos to this guy because I blast him for being a mediocre golfer that just took the big payday over at LIV. Sergio Garcia made the cut. For all the people that did not make the cut, and there were a lot of really good golfers that missed the cut. Jordan Spieth missed the cut. I think Justin Thomas missed the cut. I mean, John Rahm was right on the cut line. Phil Mickelson missed the cut. Justin Rose, Nick Taylor, who won last week, his national championship. Adam Scott. Colin Morikawa. I mean, there were a lot of good golfers that missed the cut today. And of all the people to make it, Sergio Garcia is going to be around for the weekend. At least he can keep Brooks Koepka company. They can sit and talk about how much they hate the course or something like that. How they wish they were playing a 3-round event on the LIV Tour. All right, 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Our question of the night, Ja Morant's 25-game suspension. Too much, too little, or just right? Text us, 888-670-8549. The text line is open, 888-670-8549. He got 25 games. What do you think of it? Let me know. We'll come back. More men behaving badly with guns. That's next on the Cash In. Yeah, I missed my calling. Brooks Koepka. That dude literally levied more criticism on the golf course. Wow. I'm gonna yeah. Yeah. We'll continue the conversation with Judd Spicer, who's covering the U.S. Open for us 15 minutes from now on the show. Get his thoughts on the conclusion of play today and what he saw late in the round today as he was out there. And appreciate him hanging out there for a couple of days and walking around the course and getting a feel for what was going on and watching some of the golf. That's better than me. Can I tell you a funny thing about me, Charles Carter? Enough about me. Let's talk about me. Can I tell you something funny? I am the guy. I am 100% this guy. I am the guy that will go and get credentialed for a golf event, and then I won't leave the media center for the entire tournament. I do not walk around the course. I eat the free food, the ice cream sandwiches. I go and get me some nice media gifts. I work. I do interviews and stuff. I go to the media room, but I am not walking around the course. If I'm walking around the course, then I better be playing. Not walking around the course to watch these guys play. I always say, and I will always tell people this, if you ever have the chance, no matter where you're listening to us tonight, if you ever have the chance to go and watch a professional golf tournament, PGA Tour event, it isn't watching the guys out on the course hit shots. That is great. Don't get me wrong. But let me tell you what's even cooler. Sit on the range and watch them practice. Because then you truly understand why they're so good. Sit on the range and watch them play, and you figure out why they're so good. But if you simply go and watch them hit shots, you see the greatness, but you don't understand why. Again, change your thinking. It's not Pac-Man, it's about the ghosts. I'm not walking around the course. I'm just not doing it. I go to the media party. I chit chat. I watch tons of golf. I'll just watch it on the big screen in the media room. Do you own a gun? You live in an open carry state. You own a gun? Really? I almost feel like, and that's a perfect segue into what I was going next. I almost feel like the country we live in, I'm talking about the United States, I almost feel like they're trying to push everybody to just get a gun and we just become the wild, wild west, where we all just walk around packing heat. And I think that's and I don't want to get political here, but I will because I can. It's my show. But I almost feel like the goal of the gun lobby isn't to make sure that, guns are safe and all. It's just to make sure everybody has one. At this point, that's kind of where we are in society. No, everybody has one because the theory of the gun lobby is if everybody has one, we'll all be safe. Right? I mean, that's the thinking. If we all have one, then we can protect ourselves. I will tell you something right now. I talked about this last night on the show briefly. I was involved in an altercation this weekend. A pretty scary altercation with an unhinged, bigoted homophobe inside a mall in Ontario, California. And it got physical. Thankfully, it did not get violent, but it got physical. And it was loud, and it was something I've never been involved in as an adult. And I think I handled it as best I can. But if one of us or both of us had a gun in that instance, in what took place with me on Saturday with my husband and I, somebody would have been dead. No doubt in my mind. That if one of us or both of us had guns, somebody would have wound up dead on Saturday. And the mere fact that we live in a state in California where it is very difficult to get a gun. It's not an open carry state. Even getting concealed carry in this state is really hard. I mean, they put you through the ringer. And I've fired a gun before. This is not an anti-gun thing. I've fired a firearm before. I think it's kind of, I enjoyed going to a gun range and shooting a gun. And then I put the gun back in the box and I left. It wasn't even my gun. It was my friend. What'd you say? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I have no problem with guns. But I firmly believe that if one of us had a gun on Saturday, somebody would have been dead. No doubt in my mind. Because it got aggressive. And this person would have either made a move that made me pull mine, or I made a move that would have made him pull his. And somebody would have been dead. No doubt in my mind. Like it was scary. And it wasn't until like a day or two later that the whole thing of what transpired hit me. But it was pretty scary stuff. I put up a post about it on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter at the back page, I put a video up about it last Saturday. So if you go into my Twitter timeline, you can see all the details. I don't want to recap the whole thing, but it was a really crappy thing to go through. With somebody just yelling the F word at us. And I don't mean the one that rhymes with duck, but the one that is used negatively to describe people of the LGBTQIA plus community. Rhymes with mags. Starts with F. You can figure it out. So, and the reason I bring all this up is we were talking about the Ja Morant stuff with the guns and the suspension from the league. Well, it gets better. Patriots second-year corner Jack Jones arrested on Friday after 2 firearms were found in his travel luggage at Boston's Logan Airport. He'll be arraigned next week. His bail was set at $50,000. We've been notified Jack Jones was arrested at Logan Airport earlier today. We're in the process of gathering more information. Not going to be commenting, Patriots spokesperson said. Jones is 25 years old, charged with 2 counts of the following offenses, according to state police. Possession of a concealed weapon in a secure area of the airport, possession of ammunition without a firearm identification card, unlawful possession of a firearm, carrying a loaded firearm, and possession of a large capacity feeding device. So in other words, he had one of these things that makes a gun fire more bullets than it's probably supposed to. That's what it sounds like. Charles, if I come visit Houston, you and I will go we'll go to a gun range together. All right. Or we'll just, or do they just shoot them off in the backyard of houses there? We'll put up a soda can in the backyard on like a tree stump and shoot guns together. Can we do that? Is that legal? Jesus. Jones was drafted in 2022, had his rookie season end in late December with a team suspension, unspecified violation of club rules. And this has to hit particularly close to home for the Patriots, given the whole Aaron Hernandez thing. You know, they've got to be extra sensitive to all of this. And I'll say to this day, what happened with Aaron Hernandez, the man he killed, all that stuff, that is, there is a certain amount of that is 100% on the Patriots. A certain amount of it, not all of it. I don't hold them culpable or responsible in any sort of entirety. But there is no doubt that the Patriots, and they're turning a blind eye basically to everything they knew was going on with Aaron Hernandez. And trust me, those teams have security details, former police, former federal agents, all sorts of former law enforcement people work for those teams in security. There isn't anything that goes on that teams don't know about. And that's the same thing with Ja Morant. These teams know what's going on with their players. They either choose to ignore it or they do something about it. And up until the gun waving on Instagram back in March, the Grizzlies were ignoring all this stuff with Ja Morant. They knew what's going on. They knew 100% what was going on. Just as the Patriots knew what was going on with Aaron Hernandez to at least a certain degree. Guess we're all just supposed to own guns, man. Just strap up, everybody. It's the only way you're going to be safe. Everybody just carry around a Glock. Right? That's what they want. I'm telling you, Saturday was evidence. I do not want a gun. Nope. I'd be in jail right now. Be calling Charles to come bail me out. More with Judd Spicer at the U.S. Open on the other side. Stay with us. Yeah, and I'm not joking either, dude. That whole thing on Saturday. Yeah. Let me tell you, I'm not violent. I'm very anti-violence, but this guy crossed a line with me that, like, I went like Michael Douglas falling down, like just snapped. Like he was one wrong move away from winding up fucking breathing through a straw. Like that dude would, because I was not scared a bit about, the guy was in his mid-50s, you know. Yeah, we were inside a Vans shoe store. Oh yeah, it was nuts, dude. It was intense. It was very intense. It's one of those things where you watch it happen. You watch it happen with other people, and you always say to yourself, what would I do in that situation? And then you're in that situation, and you literally have a split second to decide how you're going to react. And you could walk away and just let somebody, you know, take a verbal shit on your husband. Or you stand up for your husband. And I chose the latter. And the guy acted like he wanted to throw down. And the second I shoved him, he was like, oh no, I don't want none of this. He kept talking like he wanted it, but he didn't want none of that. And then he was trying to provoke me to throw the first punch so he could play the victim card. And I was just, luckily I figured it out. Because I shoved him a couple of times. And I was hoping he'd take a swing. I really was. Because I was looking for a reason. Like, you can only get bullied so much in life before you just finally say, enough's enough, you know. Like, as it was, he got his hand in my face, which is why I shoved him away. But it could have, if he had laid even a finger on me or my husband, it would have been really ugly. Yeah. But you can, right? Oh, yeah. My brother was saying I got to do something. Hold on before we get back on the air. Shoot. Movies. Hold on one second. Movies. I got to get the interview ready. Okay. Rolling along on this Friday edition of the show. Of course, the U.S. Open is the top story of the day, along with the Ja Morant news, which we'll obviously get into as well here in the 2 for 1. We proceed on this Friday. We talked to him last hour. Time to catch up with Judd Spicer out at the U.S. Open, L.A. Country Club, to talk about what has been a most interesting day.
I would say do a short, quick rejoin.
Low scoring we saw yesterday slowly starting to be tamped down, perhaps. We proceed on this Friday. We talked to him last hour. Time to catch up with Judd Spicer out at the U.S. Open, L.A. Country Club, to talk about what has been a most interesting day. Some of that low scoring we saw yesterday slowly starting to be tamped down. Perhaps the weather playing a factor in that, Judd. The fact that, we've had more sun today. The wind is picking up. It's going to dry out these greens, make them a little faster. It seems like it's finally starting to hit back at these players a little bit, especially this late wave this afternoon.
It is. I mean, and it's worth noting a gorgeous day in Los Angeles turned just a completely idyllic, partly cloudy, 70 degrees, a little bit more than a gentle breeze going through. So a beautiful day to be strolling around the grounds. As for those with clubs in hand inside the ropes, yeah, Jason, definitely got a little bit tougher, man. When you and I spoke last night, and then when I think earlier today, the cut line went from even to +1. We are now at +2. There are still 31 players under par as we're moving into these final holes for, I guess, the last more than a couple handfuls of groups still on the course. 42 players at par or better. As a point of contrast, when we spoke last night, there were 39 players under par and 55 players at even par or better. So, yeah, we're starting to see the course more and more as the sun dries it out. As the wind picks up, you can see the players' shirts and their slacks billowing a little bit more. So the course is definitely starting to dry out, play a little bit faster, play a little bit tougher.
Top 60-plus ties is the cut. Is there any chance this gets to 3 over, or are we pretty much looking at 2 over right now?
I really don't think that's that number is locked in. I mean, the scores continue to billow basically with each half hour that's passing at this point. To go with the low numbers that we've discussed for the last couple of days, there are now 57 players at 5 over or worse. So for all the good scores, for all the 62s that we saw yesterday, for some solid scoring this morning, it's now definitely starting to even out statistically.
Give some credit to this guy, Joe Pompliano. He does a sports sort of business post online. He put up some figures today on LA Country Club. And these are things I did not know. I mean, I've seen some exclusive clubs. We know about Augusta National and the exclusivity of a place like that. This is about the next most exclusive thing I've ever seen in looking at some of the information about LA Country Club. I mean, you're really lucky to be able to spend 2 days inside the walls and gates of this facility, because it's a place that most PGA Tour professionals have never even had a chance to get into. $250,000 initiation fees. I mean, it's comical. No, but this one cracked me up. No celebrities or social media posts. You can't put. I wouldn't even want to go if I couldn't post social media from there. What fun would that be?
I guess the line that jumps out most to me about this property, Jason, I feel this has been reported, so I feel comfortable saying that it is allegedly the most valuable, piece of property in the country.
The only one that's more valuable is Central Park. That's it. $8 billion. Yeah, it's the second one. $8 billion. The land that this course is on, $8 billion is what it's worth. And they get a tax break. They get a tax loophole, so they only pay $220,000 a year in taxes.
This course, a lot of history, a lot of myth, a lot of mystique, I should say courses, plural, this entire property. It still surprises me. And I asked a gentleman that's a co-chair of this event for an article I did upwards of 5 or 6 months ago at this point, kind of trying to discern, Jason, why? Why do you finally want to open up your gates to the world? And he described to me that there'd been some change in management philosophy, that they wanted to get more involved in the game of golf, which of course the USGA, along with the PGA of America in our country, they're leading the charge. And in that sense, if you want to get involved, you're looking at hosting a US Open, you're looking at hosting a PGA championship, you want to get more ingrained in the game, in the community of golf. This property and this course will again host the U.S. Open in 2039, which might be the next time I'm on your show.
No, come on. Don't say that.
It might take those 16 years to clean up all the beer cans. I found some great irony when we did our segment just before we did it last night. So on the 15th hole, the diminutive little par 3 can play as short as 90 yards. There's like one of those, like a panning kind of a track camera where they have the track laid down and it just goes left to right and pans nicely, probably catches some of those native grasses in the foreground, the players behind it, and all on this row, because it was a popular spot to stand and spectate. There must have been like 150 empty Modelo cans, along with a couple cigarette butts, a few empty chew tin canisters, and just made me think, you know what, LACC, you have 28,000 people all told, fans, spectators, workers, media, players on your course. For your highfalutin mythical club, you're going to get some empty beer cans.
Yeah, you sure are. You know, here you go. Ready? This is part of the 1,000-page rule book that every new member gets when they join this course, okay? So they don't allow celebrities to join. No shorts. Tailored pants only. So if somebody told me, hey, I could play around there tomorrow, like if somebody, but they're like, you got to follow I wouldn't even be able to play. I couldn't even get tailored pants by tomorrow. So I'd be out of luck there. Sports coats in the clubhouse after 6 p.m. No changing shoes in the parking lot.
Banging your spikes together. Not everyone likes that.
No headphones, earbuds, or athletic clothes. I mean, this is crazy. I mean,
I guess one of two ways in a world gone mad, and it's such a chaotic universe that we live in. Some people like rules. Some people think that rules are what cohesive and keeps us together. Others might say, dude, it's almost 2024. Like, open your eyes. I might want to post a pic of my hole-in-one.
Last one. Phone calls must be made from a parked car or a phone booth. A phone booth!
Phone booth. I've been pretty much all over the property at this point over the past two, Jason. Haven't seen a phone booth anywhere. At least not your traditional, like, drop a quarter payphone booth.
Like, it means I couldn't take my phone out and record me hitting a drive on a hole. Nothing? I mean, come on.
LA, home to many, many well-respected, high-octane, one-percenter private clubs and many other private clubs as well. Had the pleasure of visiting, I guess I would say several of them at this point, and writing about many of them as well. And I always like to ask, what's the vibe? What's the vibe at your club? Because they're all different here in LA. You know, everyone's got its own little vibe, and not always little. But like recently, I had a chance to write about Bel Air Country Club, one of the coolest courses I've ever played. Another George C. Thomas design, and one of the brass told me we're a club of character with characters. That line's going to stick with me for a while.
That's fantastic. All right, before I let you go, I got to put you on the spot. Who wins?
It's a great question. As you said, and as I referenced for the scoreboard, we're starting to see some things even out a little bit. I feel like that double-digit victory tally is still in play. I don't know if the U.S. Open record, twice authored, 16 under, if that is necessarily under threat. Look, Ricky Fowler would be a great storyline. He'd be an extremely popular winner. Rory McIlroy clicking on your heels. I think we shortchanged him in the previous segment, or at least I did, where I said he was at 5.
Yeah, he's at 8. Yes.
So self-correction on air there. If he goes into this weekend in one of the last few groups, when Rory McIlroy is on his A game, if his putter is working at all, Jason, he'd be tough to beat. A lot of great names that we're looking at going into this weekend leaderboard. Some great rounds that we've seen. Some other fellas up there that, you know, we haven't really talked about. Scotty Scheffler, he's going to look like he's going to be in the mix rather.
I only got 10 seconds. Pick a winner.
Dustin Johnson up there. I can't. I know it's going with the chalk, but if it's not Roy McIlroy, put me down for Xander Schauffele getting his first major. So
I
I
love
pick
it.
2. There you go.
I love it. Judd Spicer, terrific job the last 2 days. Member of the Golf Writers Association of America, freelance writer and broadcaster. He's got a couple of podcasts. I'll mention them when we come back after the top of the hour. Thank you, my friend.
2039. Let's do it again, buddy.
No, we're not going to wait till 2039. We'll have Judd back on the show when it's warranted, and that will not be 2039. We'll put a bow on the PGA Tour Live stuff and a follow-up to a story we talked about last night involving the WNBA charter flights and Brittany Griner. Lots more to do. Baseball updates, too. Stay with us. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. Luis Ariz went 5 for 5 tonight. Dude's hitting 390. Wow. It's crazy.
I'm a bear.
The Brooks Koepka stuff could definitely go in the podcast. The two interviews can go in the podcast. The Ja Morant stuff at the top of the show could go in the podcast. The gun conversation can go in the podcast. It's probably about it. Did you hear me, Charles? I said for the podcast, the Ja Morant stuff, the Brooks Koepka stuff, the 2 interviews, and the gun stuff we did. The first hour was the Ja stuff. Okay. Cool. Okay. Then you didn't hear me say Luis Ariz went 5 for 5 tonight for the Marlins. Is hitting 390. Yeah. Raised his batting average like 12 points today. And he hit a home run. And that guy doesn't hit any home runs. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Thank you for being with us. How about Luis Arise? Have yourself a day, man. Whew. What am I talking about? Well, take a listen.
As well, and now this one is hit pretty well to right, and that is gone. How do you like that? Second homer of the year for Luis Arise. A 2-run shot.
Well, I think he saw his average kind of get in the 370s. He said, hey, I got to get back to 400 again.
He was hitting 378 coming into today. Luis Arise of the Marlins went 5 for 5 with a home run, 3 RBI. He's now hitting 390. There's a bet out there on him. If he hits over, I think it's if he hits over 400 by the All-Star break, that's the bet. You know, and there's odds based on that. Will he, won't he, that sort of thing. I don't know if the bet still exists on the FanDuel website or not, but it did at one time. Let me see real quick. Is it still there? Player specials. No, the Arise bet is no longer there. It was last week, but they've now since taken it down. And look, I thought it was a good bet to take him to hit 400 because there have been more than a few guys that have been hitting 400 at the All-Star break. So it's not it's certainly not beyond the realm of possibility for Luis Arise to do it. And Luis Arise is a guy. He's not like tiny. He's not a Lilliputian, if you will. If he wanted to hit more home runs, it was like the whole Ichiro thing. Ichiro could have hit 30 home runs a year if he wanted to. But he chose to be a slash hitter, which is why he had an insanely high average. He had a level swing and was able to, knock the baseball around and find gaps and use his legs and all that stuff. Luis Arise, though, is a first baseman, so everybody expects you're a first baseman. You got to hit a lot of home runs. John Olerud was a first baseman. He didn't hit a lot of home runs. He was a terrific hitter. And Arise is the same thing. And today he decided to take out the big stick and hits a home run. He's hitting 390. The Marlins are 39-31, one of the big surprises in the National League. And there's tons of them. There's just tons of surprises right now when it comes to the National League. And Luis Arise, a big part of the reason why. Everybody went nuts that Minnesota gave him up to go get a pitcher. So far, the deal, I think, is certainly worked out for the Marlins. They're not going to complain. But very interesting. So let me get to a follow-up on a story we talked about last night on the show. We were saying that the WNBA is permitting some teams to fly charter flights, this new JSX service that they're going to use, this public charter service. And the league's going to start using that as an option for teams to be able to fly more in terms of charter rather than commercial. Well, today, that story was advanced with the news that Brittany Griner is now going to be allowed to fly charter. So for the rest of the season, the Mercury, you see, the problem is they could say Brittany Griner flies charter. You're going to make her fly separate from the rest of her team? I mean, that just takes out so much of the team dynamic that makes sports so great and what makes bonding with your teammates so important. So according to ESPN, the most significant change to Griner's travel plans is the ability to fly charter for the Mercury's remaining road games, an option that wasn't available at the onset of the season, even though the league claims it had given the Mercury the freedom to let Griner fly private all year. Their hope is that the team, the Mercury, will be able to use JSX public charter flights for the rest of the year on both standard and so-called created routes, the latter of which other WNBA teams are not allowed to do. However, neither the league nor the Mercury would confirm Friday if that's the case, nor any other travel details. Griner's agent not commenting, but told ESPN she was fine with what has now been provided to Phoenix given the special circumstances. League commissioner says Kathy Engelbert confirmed on Outside the Lines excuse me, that Griner's travel and security plans have been adjusted. So at least there is that. And hopefully this league can figure out a way so that everybody can fly charter. I mean, you own a WNBA team. You're able to own a franchise. Figure out how to make charter flights. You're only talking about 20 charter flights a year. You're talking about a league that has, 40 game seasons? It's about half of the NBA. I mean, figure out a way to make it work, would you? One more. We'll make this the follow-up segment. One more follow-up. Last night we told you the story about Deion Sanders and having, circulation issues in his left foot. And we said last night that there was some talk out there about him potentially having to have his left foot amputated after having 2 toes amputated in 2021, which, by the way, I don't know which toes they are. And I'm not trying to be a wise guy here at all. I don't know which toes they are. But depending on, I got to imagine it's pretty hard to walk if you're missing a couple of toes. I mean, think about, how your foot in balance and, all of that. You don't realize how much you use your toes. And in Deion's case, probably not as much as, you use your toes if you have a couple of them lopped off. But it's some scary stuff. I mean, there really is real talk about him having to potentially lose a couple of his toes, not just lose his toes, but potentially lose his foot. He's got this circulation issue. And hopefully they can save the foot. No matter what you think of Deion Sanders and how he's handled this whole thing at Colorado and basically letting players go and stuff like that, nobody should have to go through something like that. And this is a guy that took good care of himself. Not like we're talking about somebody who abused their body. I lied. There's one more follow-up. Last night we told you the tragic news of Ray Lewis III being found dead at the age of 28, the son of the Hall of Fame linebacker. Well, now TMZ is additional reporting on the death of Ray Lewis III, saying that the son of the Hall of Fame linebacker died from an accidental overdose. TMZ Sports obtained the overdose report from police in Florida. They say they responded to a call for a medical emergency, found an unresponsive Lewis who was getting CPR from a friend while another friend was screaming for Narcan, a drug used for overdoses. Cops say Lewis was lying naked in a room between a bed and a wall, and he was not breathing. Police say they administered Narcan in his right nostril, but there was no response. The report also says cops searched the room, found a blue pill near Lewis's body, which they unofficially identified as alprazolam. The drugs. So it's the drug in brands like Xanax, basically. Police also say there was a used needle at the scene, plus a small plastic bag found inside of an empty beer can. It's just an awful story. It really is. And something so many families struggle with. And unfortunately, there wasn't anything that police or paramedics could do by the time they got to Ray Lewis III, who, again, has passed away at the age of 28. It's just awful. It's gay. It's a lot of gay nights around baseball tonight. A lot of different teams doing their pride nights around baseball. The Dodgers are doing theirs. Supposedly there's protesters out there. Hopefully everybody stays peaceful and calm. But yeah, that's going on tonight. The Mets had theirs tonight. Hopefully cooler heads prevail over the next couple of weeks as teams continue to do their various pride nights. in line with that, just another one of those incidents that, everybody always tries to tell you how sophisticated soccer guy is always telling you how smart he is. Yeah, the sport. Soccer is the world sport. You don't understand soccer. You're not smart enough to understand soccer. Well, another shameful night of homophobic chants at the CONCACAF qualifier last night between the U.S. and Mexico. Yeah, you're all sophisticated. Chanting homophobic slurs in Mexican or Spanish. We're coming back. I meant to say Spanish, and then I fixed it and said Spanish. But it was the Mexican crowd chanting it. Yeah. No, by now, no. They've been fined. CONCACAF has gone after them in every way they can. And the fans just keep doing it. They threw out fans. They did everything they could. I don't blame CONCACAF. I mean, what are you going to do? This next segment, what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to want in the podcast. Nope. Nope. Friday/Saturday edition of the show. Thank you for being a part of it. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, all of our viewing platforms, Twitch, Jason Page 77, on Twitter, at the back page, or on YouTube or Facebook. Just search for the Cash In with Jason Page. You'll find it. All right. We've talked a lot about the U.S. Open and Live Golf and the PGA Tour and all of these different things. First things first. PGA Tour, Live Golf have officially filed a motion to drop the antitrust lawsuits that had been filed. And that's kind of funny because now the Congress is going to be going after Live Golf and the PGA Tour in this merger for possible monopoly violations, basically saying that, they're creating a monopoly. So it's all kind of funny because all of this stuff's going to come full circle. Because you had basically the folks at Live saying the PGA Tour had a monopoly on golf, and they had, all these antitrust claims, and now they've dropped them, and Congress is saying, well, you know what, we may just look into that after all now because we don't like the fact that the PGA Tour is in bed with the Saudi government. So I just want to put this out there, and I thought about this some today before I decided to get into it, but I think there is something to be said. And I think that a lot of these big name golfers that are talking about the fact that they didn't join Live and they had offers to join Live, and I'm sure they can proffer or furnish the tour with those offers that they got from Live. They're going to be in a very interesting position in the coming weeks, months, year, whatever, while this whole Live Golf PGA Tour merger takes place. And this is not going to be something that happens quickly. When you hear about the fact that Live Golf has already, has their people planning to play next year, their normal Live events next year, it tells you that this thing still has a lot of details that need to be ironed out. But one of the details that has emerged in recent days, and nobody can really confirm it, is the fact that PGA Tour players, high-profile PGA Tour players that stuck with the PGA Tour, they're going to be compensated with this Saudi PIF investment that's going into the PGA Tour. They're going to be compensated for having been loyal to the PGA Tour. We don't know what the numbers are going to be on that. Nobody has any idea. But there's certainly a sense that that is going to be part of any deal to sort of satisfy the anger and angst of players who feel like they were left out in the dark by Jay Monahan and the powers that be at the PGA Tour. But that leads to an interesting question. And I was just talking about this. Somebody on Twitter responded to a tweet that I put out. Essentially, I tweeted out the following. I said, wow, Brooks Koepka literally leveled more criticism at LA Country Club than he did the Saudi government that signs his blood money-fueled paychecks at Live. Way to go, Brooks. Great golfer, laughable human being. And so, a bunch of people responded. And one person said, so will you hold every PGA player to the same standard? Mike in Waterbury, Connecticut sent me that tweet. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. And I absolutely will. And I've said that all of these golfers are now going to have to answer the same question that the Live golfers had to answer ad nauseum when they first joined the Live Tour and they bolted from the PGA Tour. Now, with all that having been said, there's a solution here. And I want to see if these golfers are smart enough, if they're representatives, if they're agents, if they're all smart enough. And anybody who was offered a job with Live, because I'm sure it's not every single player on the PGA Tour that was offered an opportunity, although they did take Pat Perez, which means they probably were taking just about anybody who was willing to play on the Live Tour, because Pat Perez is just hot garbage. He's rich, hot garbage, but he's hot garbage. Steaming, smelly hot garbage. But with that being said, it's kind of interesting because now the golfers, the high-end guys, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, Tony Finau, Think about, all these great golfers that didn't join LIV and probably had an opportunity to do so. They're now going to be handed a rather sizable check, but that check is going to come from the Saudi PIF. And they're going to have to answer the same questions that all these LIV guys had to answer. I've got a solution. Charles Carter, producer engineer working on the show tonight. You know what it is? Give the money to the 9/11 fund. Give it to the first responders fund. Give it to those who ran into the buildings or were helping to evacuate people out of the buildings or were cleaning the rubble at the World Trade Center site that now have all these terrible types of cancer. Give them the money. Take the money that the Saudi PIF gives you and then turn it right over to the 9/11 families, the kids of people who lost loved ones. I'm sure there's plenty of, hundreds of millions of dollars. Who knows how much the PIF is going to give to Rory and Tiger and all those guys. I wouldn't take that money if I were them. You want that blood money? You want that on your hands? You want that on your conscience? You want to answer those questions forever? If those guys have any credibility whatsoever, they will take that money and they will write a check. Heck, write it in the name of the Saudi government. Make the donation in the name of the Saudis. Because the Saudis will never do it. Because they'll never admit to having done anything wrong. Go ahead. Give it to the 9/11 families. Now, the question I have, this is an interesting question. If you're the 9/11 families, do you take that money? If you're the family of somebody who lost someone on 9/11 and Tiger Woods and Rory say, we're creating a fund, scholarships, benefits, whatever you want to call it, for survivors of 9/11, their families, first responders, all of that. We're going to take every dime that comes to us from this deal, and we're going to throw it into this fund. And then we're going to disperse it to the families of 9/11, first responders, and so on. If you are those families, would you take that money? It's a two-pronged question. One, would the golfers be bold enough to do it? And then would the 9/11 families accept it? What do you think, Charles? If you were a 9/11 family, would you accept it? Yeah, it is. Of course. No, but try. It's an interesting quandary, isn't it? See, I think you take it. Testify. Yeah, I think you take it. Because then the other question I had is, why doesn't the PGA Tour? Because Jay Monahan's getting crushed by these 9/11 families right now. Because he basically used them as pawns in arguing about why LIV was so very bad. And then he turned around and made a deal with the very company that he called so very bad. Now, I've done some reading on this. The New York Times did one of the best stories you will read on this whole LIV PGA Tour merger. If you get a second, go and look it up. It is fantastic. And it basically goes through chapter and verse how this PGA Tour LIV merger took place. And the essential gist of it is the PGA Tour was going broke. They were running out of money fast, and they were staring at years of litigation tens of millions of dollars in lawyer fees, and they didn't have a choice because Live Golf and the Saudi PIF had enough money that they could just wait them out. And the Saudis were just going to say, we'll wait until you're broke, and then everybody will come and play for us, and there will be no PGA Tour. And that was real. And I think the fear that Jay Monahan had was this whole ship's going to go down. So he made the only deal he could. Doesn't make him right, but it gives you a bit more of an understanding of how this all happened and we got to where we are. In 1 year, the PGA Tour went from very sure of itself financially to, oh bleep, we're not going to have enough money to survive with increased purses, the TV rights deal being what it is, and all these mounting legal fees. So that's why he did what he did. But go and find the story if you haven't checked it out. It is very interesting. But they made a deal with the devil for the ultimate survival of the PGA Tour, ultimately. Which is why some of these guys are holding their nose and accepting the deal that's been made. It's either that or the PGA Tour was going to go away and they all would be playing on Live Golf anyway. Hang out for a minute. We're coming back. 1-800-224-2004. The cash-in rolls on SportsMap Radio. You mean hour two? Yeah, go ahead. I don't care. Yeah, go ahead. Fixing up a fixer-upper. Sorry, I'm playing Wheel of Fortune watching it on TV. Friday Night SmackDown is on. No, you're joking. God help us. Please no. Of all the things he would host, that's what he would want to host? Grief. Wheel of Fortune. Good to have you along for the ride tonight. Thanks to our friend David typically listens in Austin, Texas. He's listening tonight in New York. Appreciate that. Dave in Connecticut, P1 of P1s, texted me. He said, awesome idea for 9/11 survivors and victims. The players will have to deal with accepting the money, but I would take it. Money is money. He also said if he can make it to the Travelers Championship this year, he'll try and find a hat camouflaged with money. That's good, Dave. Appreciate the folks reaching out on the show tonight. The phone number, you could use the press pass I don't use. Exactly. And Travelers Championship actually was my place I would always go to. Travelers Championship, because I was in Connecticut. I went every year I would go. I used to host my talk show. I used to have an afternoon drive show in Hartford, Connecticut. Every year we would do a full week from the Travelers Championship, talk to all the players, celebrity pro-am. It was so much fun. One year I interviewed Michael Bolton. How can we be lovers if we can't be friends? You that guy? Yeah. I apologize to everybody for that. But Michael Bolton came on the show, did like segment and a half with him. He was great. And at the end of the interview, he goes, hey, if you're ever out on the West Coast, look me up. We'll play golf. And I never took him up on it. And it's one of my big regrets in life that I could have played golf with Michael Bolton, and I didn't. So there's that. But I have played golf with some pretty cool people. That's one of the cool things about golf is, especially if you get to do it in the media realm, you'll sooner or later you'll get to play golf with some cool people. Played with actor Richard Jenkins. Played with Jonathan Coachman. Used to be WWE announcer. Now I think he's doing something for like CBS Sports or something like that. Everybody's doing something. I just don't know what they're doing. You know the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the Carlton? The character that played Carlton? Now he does like America's Funniest Home Videos or something like that. Yeah. I hit balls on the range with him at the same celebrity event that I played with those other guys. Got to hit balls right next to him. He's not very big. Yeah, he is. Yeah. Alfonso Ribeiro, that's his name. Yeah. Alfonso Ribeiro. Got to hit some balls with Alfonso Ribeiro. Hung out with Steve Wilkos, Jerry Springer fame, now has his own show. Steve. Got to hang out with him a bit. Yeah, one year I actually got only one time in my life I was considered enough of a celebrity to play in a celebrity pro-am. So they must have been like reaching. They must have been at like the bottom of the barrel. They were like, all right, we got to fill out these foursomes. Can we find any more celebrities? And I got to play at not Travelers. I wanted to play at the Travelers Celebrity Pro-Am forever, and they never considered me enough of a celebrity to play in it. But I got to play at Mohegan. It was at Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut, and they had a celebrity golf event. It was Ray Allen. I think it was Ray Allen's event, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it might have been Ray Allen's event, but I played in it. No, it was Ahmad Rashad. It was Ahmad Rashad's celebrity golf event. In other words, Michael Jordan's personal interviewer for so many years. And got to talk to Ahmad. He was really cool. Except I hear he's the biggest cheater in golf. Like notoriously just kicks balls out of the rough onto the fairway, that sort of thing. Just doesn't even hide it. Yes, if you're Ahmad Rashad, you can get away with that. But so they needed people, and I was working for NBC Sports at the time, so I just made the cut, and I got to play in the Ahmad Rashad Celebrity Golf Classic. And you get up on the first tee, on the first hole, and there's people watching. It's one thing to play golf and get up on the first tee and feel a little nervous. It's a whole nother thing when people are watching you on the first tee. And I piped it right down the middle, by the way. Just put that out there. In the clutch, just piped it right down the middle. It was fun. It was good times. Charles, you don't sound impressed. Have you ever played? Miniature golf? Putt-putt? Yeah, well, it's all right. It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. The night in baseball, by the way, is not complete as of yet. There's still a few games remaining. Tampa Bay leads San Diego 6-2, bottom of the ninth at Petco. I wonder if Gary Sanchez has any more home runs. It feels like every time you turn on a game, Gary Sanchez has a home run right now. No, 0 for 4 today, 2 strikeouts. He's back to being Gary Sanchez. Well, it's just too easy. He went nuts for like a week. His first week with the team, he went nuts. I mean, he was hitting the tar off the out of the ball. Yeah, there it is. He's got 6 home runs and 16 RBIs, and they're all with San Diego. He's having a hell of a start with them. White Sox and Mariners tied at 2, bottom of the 6th in Seattle. That game on Apple TV Plus tonight. San Francisco and LA, Dodgers and Giants. One of the best rivalries in baseball. They are tied at 4 in the top of the 8th. So still some games left to be decided. Earlier today, Cubs beat Baltimore 10-3. Cooled off those Orioles for at least a day anyway. We mentioned Miami earlier today with Luis Ariz going 5 for 5. They beat Washington 6-5. Yankees got slaughtered in Boston. Just awful. Terrible way to start a weekend series against the Red Sox. 15-5. Meanwhile, the Mets won. Beat lowly St. Louis. The Cardinals, I mean, they are just a train wreck right now in the NL Central. And that's a division that you could, win with 86 or 87 wins. And a lot of people thought that St. Louis was the team to beat in that division. And it has all gone wrong for that franchise this year. And you've got players coming out basically trying to defend the job of Marmol over there. And you got to wonder if they could be dealing at the deadline. And I mean shipping guys out. And just start to build around some of their youth. If you start to figure out that, there's really no point in continuing with this group. I mean, Goldschmidt, Arenado. Tough day for them. They got beat by the Mets 6-1 today. Mets get a decent start from Tyler McGill in the win. Toronto beat Texas 2-1. Atlanta beat Colorado 8-1. Houston a loser, and boy, they're going to be without Yordan Alvarez now for at least 4 weeks and possibly up to 6 weeks from the conversation I had with Bob Nightingale on the show this week of USA Today, their senior baseball writer. This oblique injury could keep him out a while, and Houston's got to just find a way to stay afloat right now and be a wild card team because Texas, they're not slowing down, and the loss of Jacob deGrom is something they can withstand because they're one of those teams that I think is built really well for the regular season. I do not buy the idea that Texas is built well for the postseason. I think their bullpen's going to be an issue. I think that rotation's going to be an issue. But for the regular season, for 162 games, they're going to put up a healthy win total. They're probably going to win the AL West. And that's certainly going to give them an advantage when you get to the postseason. Angels win. They beat Kansas City 3-0. Kansas City and Oakland battling for the worst record in all of baseball. Good start tonight for Patrick Sandoval. 7 innings of 4-hit shutout ball. So that gives the Angels a win. They're 40-32. And look, the problem with the Angels every year seems to be at some point, somebody's going to get hurt. And it's usually Mike Trout. And we're right in that window of the time of year where Mike Trout's going to wind up getting hurt. And I'm not rooting for it. I love watching Mike Trout play baseball. It's one of the advantages of living on the West Coast is I don't have to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning to watch him play. Trout and Ohtani, fun to watch. And the Angels are going to have some tough decisions to make. I'll continue on that conversation coming up in a couple of minutes. Judd Spicer, my conversation with him on the U.S. Open, also still to come in our 2 for 1. Stay with us. No. Yeah, no, I don't. Nothing specific from this hour as of now. Mm-hmm. Yes, it did. I said, yes, it did. Yeah, the show has gone by fast. Friday shows are the hardest shows of the week. I say that all the time, but it's true. Yeah, Friday shows are tough. Especially, it's just, by the end of the week, I'm so mentally exhausted because I'm going, 12 to 15 hours a day, basically, between the radio show, the TV show, business meetings, business calls, content creation. It's just nonstop. Need to get some money and hire some people. Oof. Yeah, it's late for you. Shit. It's what, 11:30 where you are? Yeesh. Yeah, I'm ready for the weekend. Big time. I'm going to go bowling tomorrow. Practice a little bit. I haven't thrown a ball in about 7 weeks, so go and do some practicing tomorrow with my friend Paul. Yeah. It's practice. Like I don't really bowl for fun. I bowl for money. I bowl for competitiveness. I don't know how to do anything for fun, unfortunately. The only thing All right, I want to pull on this thread a little because just as we were coming back from break, Producer engineer Charles, working the show in Houston tonight while I'm out here in Palm Springs, said, "You sound like the most interesting." Why do I sound like the most interesting man in the world to you? Oh, thanks. Yeah. No, I know what it is. And last night, you missed it. Last night's show was fun. I was doing the show while opening baseball cards. I was opening cards on the show, and I didn't get to show this off on the air last night because we pulled it while we were doing the replay of the interviews that we do in the final hour. But I did pull this cool autographed card of a Seattle Mariners prospect, Michael Arroyo, who's actually one of their better prospects. I think he's like their 11th ranked prospect. He's, I think, just 19 years old, and he's tearing the cover off the ball in single A this year. You can look him up, Michael Arroyo. Pulled his autograph card last night on the show while I was hosting the show. It's kind of fun. Well, it's not my fault they only put you on a couple days a week. Go bust some skulls over there. It's time to tell people, man. Tell them put some respect on your name. You know, I mean, I ask for you. It's all I can do, man. I go to bat. For you. I got wrestling on tonight. It's a rough sports night now that the golf is done, most of the baseball's done. I guess I could have turned on the Apple TV game with the Mariners and White Sox tonight, but instead I'm watching SmackDown. Friday Night SmackDown is on the iPad right now. You know who's not behind? Brian McDonald is not behind. That's for sure. Brian McDonald lives, eats, and breathes wrestling. That dude is king of the booger eaters. I tell him that all the time. Call him a booger eater. That's great. Just to update here real quick, they have gone final and Tampa Bay beat San Diego 6-2 tonight, so that game is now a final. So just two games remain. White Sox, Mariners tied at 2, going to the bottom of the 7th. Mariners, I'll tell you, the biggest beneficiary of the Yordan Alvarez injury could be the Mariners. This is their opportunity, for sure. San Francisco now leads the Dodgers 5-4, bottom of the 8th out at Chavez Ravine. Boy, what a busy weekend. You know what? I take it back. I don't want to go to Los Angeles this weekend. You've got the U.S. Open, and the Dodgers are home for the Giants all weekend. Good luck. You're not going to be able to get anywhere in L.A. this weekend. I was thinking about, let's go to L.A. this weekend. Nope. I'll stay local and go bowling. It's going to be what I do this weekend. We'll do some bowling over the weekend out here in Palm Springs. It's going to be 103 out here tomorrow, by the way. Yeah, 103. Yeah, we get to about 120. We usually max out around 120 here in the summer. Tanner Houck, by the way, scary incident. I say this all the time, and I don't know how Major League Baseball polices this or does anything about it. But I would normally say, hey, go see the video. You don't want to see this. Red Sox starter Tanner Houck tonight took one right off the mush. Got hit by a line drive in that Yankees-Red Sox game. Red Sox were up 13-1. And a line drive came right back at Tanner Houck, hit him in the face. Received stitches. He was checked out at a hospital. He was conscious the whole time, manager Alex Cora said. He's got a cut in the hospital. They'll know more at the end of the night, but they're saying that he got lucky. Yankees catcher Kyle Higashioka led off. He was behind 1-2 in the count, hit a 92-mile-per-hour sinker straight up the middle, hit Houck right in the face. And Alex Kors said it cut him in his cheek area. Thankfully, it sounds like that might be the worst of it. And, I mean, Justin Turner went through his own situation this year where he got hit. And, he's a teammate of Houck. So, look, you got guys throwing harder than ever. You've got players that are stronger than ever. And it's just, you hate to say it, but it feels like it's just a matter of time before somebody gets hit with a line drive and the lights go out and they don't go back on. And none of us are wishing for it. None of us are hoping for it, but you get the feeling that, the bigger and stronger and faster these guys get. And I mean, baseball players now are athletes more than they've ever been before. Sure, do you still have some guys like Daniel Vogelbach who's, look like softball players in Major League Baseball uniforms? Of course. But the vast majority of guys, they're working out, they're stronger, they're faster. Go look at Anthony Volpe 2 years ago in the minor leagues with the Yankees and look at him now. And he still looks small now, but that dude has gotten bigger. These guys are dealing with some of the best trainers in the world, working with some of the best trainers in the world. Just terrifying when you see some of these line drives that go at some of these pitchers and how they're able to duck and get out of the way and avoid serious injury is just amazing. But hopefully Tanner Houck's going to be all right. We will certainly keep you posted on that next week. Text from, let's see here. Garrett in Austin, Texas says, do the Astros have a chance to repeat this year? I would say no. I think they're going to struggle just to be a wild card team, and that's not me trying to trash the organization or anything like that. Some years, you're just not going to be healthy enough. And I don't think there's anything that the organization has done wrong. I don't think there's anything they need to necessarily change. Sometimes you just have a down year with a talented team. Look at all the injuries they've sustained in the starting pitching. First it was Altuve hurt. Now it's Yordan Alvarez that's hurt. Abreu got off to a slow start. I mean, Houston right now is 39-31. The Angels are 40-32. So they're basically tied for second. And then you have Seattle, who's about 4.5 games behind the both of them. And you look at the wild card right now. The Orioles, Astros, and Yankees are your wild card teams, but the Angels are right there. The Blue Jays are right there. Heck, even the Red Sox, dead last in the AL East, are only 4 games out of the second wild card spot. I mean, you're essentially talking for 3 spots right now: Orioles, Astros, Yankees, Angels, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Mariners, maybe the Guardians on the fringe. So you're saying 8 teams for 3 spots right now. 8 teams for 3 spots for the American League wild card right now. Are the Astros going to be one of those 3 teams? We know the Orioles will be one of those teams. They have staying power. The Yankees, and this is why I'm going to say the Yankees. And I could just see Charles sitting there probably rolling his eyes right now saying, here comes that pro-Yankee stance. But it's true. Up until now, the Yankees have played the hardest schedule in baseball, and they're 39-31. And they've been without Aaron Judge for basically half of the first half of the season. And they're still 39-31. And they were without Giancarlo Stanton for over a month. I think they were without him for about 6 weeks. So consider that the Yankees, and they've been without Carlos Rodon the whole season, who they're about to get back, and probably around the All-Star break, they'll get him back. I mean, they've had Harrison Bader's been hurt. Rizzo got hurt a couple weeks ago. He hasn't been playing well. And the Yankees are still 39-31 in the best division in baseball, and they've played the hardest schedule so far in all of baseball. They're making the playoffs. It'll be as a wild card team, but you're going to get two of the 3 wild cards are coming out of the AL East. I got news for you. And there's a damn good chance that all 3 of them do. Because the Blue Jays are right there as well. So the Astros are basically fighting for 1 wild card spot as far as I see it. Astros, Angels, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Mariners, Guardians. And one of them is going to be that 3rd team. Judd Spicer talks U.S. Open on the other side. It's the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Thank you. Short rejoin coming back. We proceed on this Friday. We talked to him last hour. Time to catch up with Judd Spicer. Rolling along on this Friday edition of the show. Of course, the U.S. Open is the top story of the day, along with the John Morant news, which we'll obviously get into as well here in the 2 for 1. Let's bring in Judd Spicer, award-winning freelance writer. He does a great job on all things golf. Get some thoughts with him on this U.S. Open, which continues to roll on at L.A. Country Club. Judd, of course, a member of the Golf Writers Association of America. He's also got a couple of podcasts that we'll let him plug in the next hour when he's with us. We're going to do him this hour, and then we'll do him in the second hour of the show. All right, Judd, talk about another day where scoring is low at this U.S. Open. We thought it might get a little tougher. The sun's come out this afternoon. Maybe it starts to kind of dry out the course a little bit. The winds have picked up a bit. Give us a sense of what you're seeing having walked the course today.
Well, meteorologically, Jason, you did touch upon a few of the deserved headlines, and that, about 1 o'clock this afternoon, just as most of the second wave of play was getting underway, saw my shadow at LACC for the first time, as did many players. With that sun coming out, we did see a bit of a rise in the afternoon winds that were suspected over the course of the week into the weekend, none of which we saw yesterday, of course, which led to so much low scoring, to record-setting and record-tying scoring. And over the
And the Rays have a 6-0 lead.
You can't produce a game any better than what we just saw. Right after talking about how Randy Arozarena had a coming out
Rolling along on this Friday edition of the show. Of course, the U.S. Open is the top story of the day, along with the John Morant news, which we'll obviously get into as well here in the 2 for 1. Let's bring in Judd Spicer, award-winning freelance writer. He does a great job on all things golf. Get some thoughts with him on this U.S. Open, which continues to roll on at L.A. Country Club. Judd, of course, a member of the Golf Writers Association of America. He's also got a couple of podcasts that we'll let him plug in the next hour when he's with us. We're going to do them this hour, and then we'll do them in the second hour of the show. All right, Judd, talk about another day where scoring is low at this U.S. Open. We thought it might get a little tougher. The sun's come out this afternoon. Maybe it starts to kind of dry out the course a little bit. The winds have picked up a bit. Give us a sense of what you're seeing having walked the course today.
Well, meteorologically, Jason, you did touch upon a few of the deserved headlines, and that, about 1 o'clock this afternoon, just as most of the second wave of play was getting underway, saw my shadow at LACC for the first time, as did many players. With that sun coming out, did see a bit of a rise in the afternoon winds that were suspected over the course of the week into the weekend, none of which we saw yesterday, of course, which led to so much low scoring, to record-setting and record-tying scoring. And over the course of this afternoon, I started to see it dry out a little bit. And these are some of the things that we expected, some of the things that LACC definitely needed to defend itself against the type of scoring that we saw in round one.
Ricky Fowler, 65-67 through his first 2 rounds of this tournament. Look, there were the signs he was starting to put it together here over the last couple of weeks, particularly last week in Toronto. He's put himself in position to be right there this weekend. Talk a little bit about what we've seen from Rory here over the first 2 days.
Yeah, and just to correct, because you said Ricky Fowler, which
I'm sorry, I meant Rory. I'm sorry, I meant Rory McIlroy. Sorry about that.
A lot of R's and a lot of Rickies and a lot of Rorys. There's a lot of names to keep track of, man. Rory McIlroy, another solid round today. Followed up yesterday, as you said, with a 67 today. Has him, as I'm looking at this leaderboard right now, at a cumulative 132 over the 2 days at 5 under, finding himself right in the mix. And it's been a long time, since 2014, unbelievably, since Rory McIlroy has held a major title. Of course, he just needs the Masters for the career Grand Slam. But it's been way too long. No surprise. He's been trending well for basically the better part of 2 years now. We have seen a little bit of funky wedge play from Rory McIlroy, but from what I saw of him today, looked like he had it pretty tight. No surprise that he's in the mix going into the weekend.
No, and I mean, this is a who's who leaderboard. I mean, Fowler at the top, Wyndham Clark notwithstanding, and I know he won for the first time a few weeks back. Schauffele is obviously playing really well. Dustin Johnson right there. You got a nice mix of some of the live guys and some of the mainstay and PGA Tour guys. I mean, this thing is really setting up for a special weekend.
Absolutely. I don't often, by the way, use the words live and nice in the same sentence like you just did, although we don't know if live will soon exist by the time this show airs. But you're absolutely right. And speaking with some friends and contacts with the USGA this morning, the SoCal leaderboard, obviously very popular, ending round one, heading into round two with Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele atop. But I think that there's a general consensus here, and you and I talked about this yesterday, Jason, that a Ricky Fowler win, he got out of the gates very, very strong in round three, birdieing his first 3 holes, ultimately birdied 4 of his first 6, getting his second round underway. That would be a particular storybook for a SoCal guy, and a guy that we always thought would win at least one, if not multiple majors.
Well, Judd, is there any doubt that would be the most popular win amongst all the players out there? Would be a Ricky Fowler win?
I don't think no. To answer your question succinctly, no. There would be no other storyline that could better that.
Yeah, I would agree. Judd Spicer joining us here on the show. Palm Springs-based award-winning freelance writer and broadcaster, a podcaster, member of the Golf Writers Association of America, out there at LA Country Club for us here yesterday and today as well. You know, Sam Bennett was an amateur who captured the minds of a lot of people at the Masters. And now, since he has gone pro and has already started to show some real signs of being able to compete at the highest level, Bennett in at 5 under after a 68 today through his first 2 rounds. Man, he just doesn't play like somebody who just came out of college and is playing on the PGA Tour. He doesn't hold up like that.
No, and when we saw him compete toward I think it was the final group, as you referenced, of the Masters, looked very cool after a jittery couple holes. Exact same thing over the course of these first 2 rounds. Does not look like a guy that just came out of amateur golf, and he was interviewed to that effect. He spoke toward it. I thought, pretty interestingly, in the fact that he just seemed to intimate that he doesn't get nervous, and he certainly conducts himself. Some of these young guys, man, I don't know, Jason, whether it's growing up with just the social media era, the Generation Xers, when they're so used to watching these professionals, how these professionals conduct themselves, the way that these professionals protect themselves into how they look and what they say, or oftentimes, probably more often than not, what they don't say. A lot of these young guys come out so mature right away, and it doesn't take a long time for them to get settled. Not like we were used to historically. Sam Bennett, definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, he certainly is. Talking with Judd Spicer out at the LA Country Club site of this year's U.S. Open as we run through a bit of the leaderboard. Is there a sense for how this course changes now as the sun comes out? The weather improves here over the next couple of days. It's going to get a little warmer. Is there any sense? Does anybody know how it's going to change this course over the next 2 days? Is it just faster, firmer? The rough's going to grow a couple inches. I mean, does anybody have a sense for what this thing looks like by the time we get to Sunday? Since this is going to be our last day on the air together, I figure project a little bit as to what we're going to see on the weekend.
Well, to balance out some of those deep red numbers that we have discussed and that most media has discussed as the headline, there is actually a little mix and match to go with this. I mean, 45 players as we're getting deeper into the afternoon wave of play at 5 over or worse. So you've got basically nearly a third of the field that is not playing LACC particularly well, and the course is showing its teeth. The cut line started today at even, Jason. That has already risen as we get deeper into the afternoon wave into +2, trending a little bit closer to +3. So statistically, we show LACC showing those teeth, and outside the cut line, we'll see how some of these players are completed. Some of them are just wrapping things up here in round 2 and see if they can make it to the weekend. But just a few names.
Jordan Spieth is a guy who's just outside the cut line right now at +3. Phil Mickelson there as well.
A couple other big names we can add to that list. Sungjae Im, Colin Morikawa. He is going to be fighting to make the cut. Nick Taylor, we saw win in Canada in dramatic fashion last week. Doesn't look like he's going to play the weekend. Justin Rose, a former Open winner, he's been in good form of late. Jason Day, he's had a great season, basically. By and large, has had a few funky tournaments, actually, but pound for pound, he's had a great season, great comeback season. Justin Thomas getting totally clobbered by LACC. So for all these low numbers at the same time, we are starting to see a little bit of that bulk kick in for what this course can do. Something else to that effect, just to kind of give you a double answer to your question. It was intimated to me that there are concerns, or at least were concerns, about pace of play. They don't want these guys pushing up against Sunset, Jason, playing 5-hour, 45-minute rounds that we've become a little bit accustomed to in major championship golf. Not like you and I, when we knock it around the desert, zip around in 3.5 hours. These guys are out there for a long time. So by virtue of those pace of play concerns, maybe a little bit easier set up intentionally yesterday. A few tee boxes pushed forward, of course, playing a little bit shorter. As you and I talked about yesterday, a few of the pin placements that could get a little crazy were actually a little bit more benign. See a little bit more of that today as well. But come the weekend, when we don't have those time constraints and time concerns, it's going to be, as you referenced yesterday, that prime time SoCal major. See those tee boxes push back a little bit. We're going to see the course get a little more slick. We're going to see those pins get a little more tough and funky. And that's when I think LACC is really going to start showing its fangs.
Judd Spicer Does a great job out here in Palm Springs, based out here, award-winning freelance writer, broadcaster. He's got a podcast as well. We'll talk about that next hour. Member of the Golf Writers Association of America. We'll see you back here next hour. Thanks, Judd.
Thanks, Jason.
Because we're out of time. And that was our 2-for-1. That's how we wrap up this Friday edition of the show. Enjoy the U.S. Open all weekend. It's going to be great. Thank you to Charles Carter for producing and engineering it. Thanks to all our guests all week. Thanks to you for listening. Thanks to you for watching. Stay safe. I'm Jason Page. We'll catch you back here on Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific for the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Bye! Thanks, my man. Have a good night. All right, bye-bye. On the video side, that wraps it up for us as well. Thank you for watching. I will see you all next week. Have a safe weekend. And I'll see you all back here on Monday night.